we will be at Tennessee LSU for the first leg this Saturday of the Every Given Saturday Tour. The last 3 matchups in this series have been decided in Tiger Stadium on the final play. Now, they played a couple of games in Neyland most recently. Last time Tennessee went down there was 2010. And wow, kids, if you don't remember that matchup, I strongly encourage you. You fast forward to the end. Just watch the final, what would you say, Jesse, about 20 seconds of the game. It feels like you watched a whole movie. Crazy. Just unimaginative drama. This thing has been close. The point spread in this one is close. Tennessee is favored by 3. What do we make of this? See, a lot of you stroking your chins already. What do you make of this? Well, I look at it, and if you want to know what my path to an LSU win is, I got a couple of things they need to have transpire. They need to make Tennessee wobbly. They need to make that offense wobbly. If you just allow them to get going, obviously, that's a team that could embarrass you. They looked like they were on their way to embarrassing Florida a few weeks ago. So I think LSU has to neutralize tempo. They have not dealt with a team that runs the amount of plays per minute, plays per game that Tennessee does. Now, obviously, if you can neutralize that, if you get them off the field and defensively you win third down, that greatly alleviates the strain it's going to put on you third and fourth quarter. It's so easy. I can tell you, I just did it. It's easy to say that behind a microphone. It's a lot different, especially when they've got a week's rest to get ready for you. Number 2 is you got to stand up in the red zone. Now, I got some stats for you. Stats and Info tells me LSU is number 1 in red zone defense in the SEC. That's the good news for the Tigers. Here's the bad news. You got a group coming into town that is number 1 in the red zone in offense in the SEC. So I believe Meemaw would say at this point something has to give and something will give. The fun of it is we don't know yet. That's why we're going to tune in Saturday. And the third thing that I think would greatly behoove the LSU Bayou Bengals is make turnovers a factor. Why don't you? LSU defense, number 1 in the SEC in turnovers forced. Conversely, the other team hadn't had to worry about it at all. Hendon Hooker has 0 interceptions his last 212 passes. So you see basically an offense in Tennessee that's been humming along really well, and you see a defense in LSU that has shown the capability to do the things that it would take to trip Tennessee up. It just doesn't happen Saturday. It's a couple of bounces. It's a couple of third and shorts. That kind of stuff decides these sorts of games. Why is the line so close, though? I think a lot of people looked at this and thought Tennessee would be favored by a touchdown. I never really expected that, but I know why you feel that way. And it's the Xboxing of America. It's the highlightening of America. I know that second one's not a word. I doubt the first one's a word. But when you think of prolific offensive teams, your mind thinks in terms of highlights. So it's very easy when you think, okay, Tennessee at LSU. You get a picture in your mind of a guy in orange and white or white and orange. They're wearing the smoky grays this Saturday. I'm not a fan. I don't know how Colin feels about it. Let's just say the gray uniform. Yeah, Colin hates them too. You do away with the smoky grays. Anyway, the smoky gray uniform, you just picture a wide receiver streaking down the sideline. You picture a receiver catching one in the slot, taking it to the house 80 yards, because that's just the way the typical college football mind thinks about prolific offensive teams. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. But nevertheless, that's not the way to predict a game and the way that odds are made. That's not the way that they work necessarily. So why is the line so close? Well, if you look at the team profiles and the matchups and whatnot, games are decided by those. Games are decided by matchups. And the key matchup for LSU hosting Tennessee is 128th out of 131 teams in pass yards allowed per game. Translation, if you can throw the ball halfway decent, you got a shot at matching points at the very least, or at the most, if you can make them wobbly, you could turn the tables on them completely. Here is problem number 2. LSU did not top 100 yards passing against Auburn last Saturday. So we see an obvious vulnerability in Tennessee's secondary. Do we have what it takes? If I'm LSU, do we have what it takes to expose that? We got home field. I'm going to talk about that in a second because there's an edge that's being underlooked and overlooked here. I don't know if one's being underlooked. I mean, you know LSU's got home field. Let's talk about it right now. LSU's got home field advantage. That is an edge that's obvious. Even an 11 a.m. kickoff, I don't care. It's a tough place to go play. Tennessee certainly caught a break here. I think the timing of the game is pretty inexplicable. I can't say much more because I work for this network, but it kind of confused me when I saw the lineup too. Nevertheless, you know LSU's got home field advantage. That edge is going to be talked about. But there's another edge that I don't think is getting nearly as much run. What did LSU do last week? They were in a 4-quarter rock fight against Auburn. They were down 17-0 at one point. They had to crawl over broken glass to win that game. And what was Tennessee doing? They had their feet propped up in Knoxville, Tennessee, just enjoying it all. And you know what it reeks of to me? It reeks of the Oklahoma State-Baylor game last week. Baylor goes to Iowa State, and they got a 4-quarter fight. Oklahoma State just sits at home and rests. And so everyone knew that Baylor was home, and they're hosting Oklahoma State. It was an error-prone Saturday for them. Meanwhile, the rested Oklahoma State just came in there and took care of business, and I wonder if that's not how this one plays out. I think this is a good time to take a look at what the model thinks. And the model looks at it, and it sees Tennessee -3 on the Vegas odds, and it says, we'll do you 2 better. We'll make it Tennessee -5. I do not think this is going to be a runaway for Tennessee. And I've got some close personal friends that disagree with me on that. But I do think that second factor that I just mentioned, I think it's going to matter in the second half. And that's because of the pacing of Tennessee's offense and what LSU went through last week. The second thing is, I don't know if LSU is fully equipped to take advantage of the weakness in the Tennessee secondary. The reason that line is only at 3 is because that vulnerability is baked into that number. But if you can't take advantage of it, the line shouldn't be that low. I'm going to bank on the fact that Tennessee is equipped to do what they need to do down there. I don't know. Unless you're more aggressive, unless you play a different game than I've seen you play so far this year, I don't know that LSU offensively is fully ready to pounce on that. If they are, they can win the game outright. I'm going to play the odds, and I'm going to say Tennessee wins, and I'm going to say Tennessee covers. But I will tell you what the slam dunk is. We will have a lot of fun in Baton Rouge this Saturday. That I can assure you of. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.